Before sin, before time as we know it, there was only glory. Heaven wasn't just the throne room. It was a realm of unimaginable beauty. The radiant light of God's presence illuminated every corner. The echo of angelic worship never ceased. Everything moved in perfect harmony with divine purpose. At the very center of that glory stood the Word, Jesus, the Logos. As John 1:1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." He wasn't created. He didn't appear later in history. He always was eternally united with the Father and the Spirit. They didn't just coexist. They were one. So, if Jesus was already there fully divine, fully eternal, what did he see? When Lucifer's heart began to shift, Lucifer didn't start out as a monster. Ezekiel 28 describes him as the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. He was a guardian cherub, created to walk among the fiery stones, a place near the very heart of God's presence. Picture that, walking among the fire of God's glory and not being consumed. But then, something changed. Pride, conceit, the seed of I will. Isaiah 14:13-14 reveals his 5 deadly declarations. I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly. I will ascend above the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Somewhere, deep in his own mind, Lucifer believed he could overthrow the very God who created him. Jesus, the light, saw it unfold. When that first seed of pride whispered in Lucifer's thoughts, he was there, not shocked, but maybe, in his eternal heart, already grieving what hadn't yet happened. Because Jesus wasn't just a king, he was love, and true love can never force obedience. Let this question burn in your mind. Why didn't Jesus destroy Lucifer the moment rebellion stirred? In the calm of paradise, a ripple spread, not thunder, just ... a whisper, the faintest sound in the sea of stillness. Angels began to murmur, eyes glanced back and forth. Nothing was said aloud, but they all felt it. Something was different. Revelation 12:7 says, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back." 3 words, war in heaven. That should stop us cold. Lucifer didn't just rebel against heavenly order. He didn't just envy other angels. He rebelled against the Son, against Jesus. And this wasn't just envy. It was a challenge for the throne. He didn't want to destroy heaven. He wanted to replace its king. And who sits beside the Father? Jesus. Imagine that. The one who gave him life, beauty, and authority, now became the target of his pride. And Jesus, he saw it all. Not with rage, but with a holy sorrow. When 1/3 of the angels sided with Lucifer, Jesus didn't respond with fire. He remained silent, not because he was weak, but because he was merciful. Imagine watching those you lovingly created choose darkness, and still not intervening. Because love must allow choice, even when that choice leads to heartbreak. What happens when eternal love faces eternal betrayal? Revelation 12 continues. Lucifer was cast out defeated. Later, Jesus would say in Luke 10:18, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." He didn't say Michael saw it. He didn't say the Father cast him out. He said, "I saw." And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the ache behind the words. Not triumph, not gloating, just a quiet sorrow. Because this wasn't just the fall of a rebellious angel. This was the fall of someone who once stood near him, who once sang before his throne, who once walked in his glory. Revelation 13:8 calls Jesus the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Stop. Let that sink in. That means when Lucifer first whispered rebellion, Jesus already knew. He knew where it would lead. He saw the garden, the lie, the tree, the cross, and yet, he let it happen, because his love never bypasses free will. Here's what might shake you. Jesus' first battle wasn't fought with swords or armies. It was fought with restraint. And in that silence, he revealed something no angel had ever seen before. Mercy. When the rebellion was crushed and heaven regained its stillness, something was missing. The glory remained, but the harmony had a scar. 1/3 of the angels were gone. And Lucifer, now called Satan the accuser, the adversary, was cast out. But the most haunting truth, Jesus stood and watched him fall. He remained, but surely his heart bled. Heaven was still, glory remained, but something had shifted. 1/3 of the angels gone, the harmony of eternity, once whole, now bore a subtle scar. And at the center of that wound stood a figure once called Lucifer, Now Satan, the adversary, the accuser, he no longer stood in fire and light. He burned with envy and vengeance. But the most haunting truth, Jesus had watched him fall. Now, the war had moved. It would no longer be fought in the courts of heaven. The next battle would take place in a garden, a paradise, a perfect place inhabited by two humans who had no idea they were about to walk into the heart of a cosmic war. And once again, Jesus would not stop it. It was peaceful. Birds sang, rivers shimmered, the wind whispered through untouched leaves, the soil held no blood, the air carried no fear. Adam and Eve walked freely, unashamed, clothed in nothing but innocence. They walked with the Creator in the cool of the day. There was no distance between them and God, no guilt, no shame, no pain. But something was watching, something ancient, something bitter, something fallen. Satan had entered the garden. What do you do when the enemy doesn't come with fire, but with a question? Genesis 3:1 introduces him not as a dragon, not as a monster, but as a serpent. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, has God indeed said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Notice the strategy. He didn't attack. He suggested. He twisted. You whispered. It wasn't about a fruit. It was about trust. That it was a challenge not just to God's words, but to his character. The Word, the one who had spoken creation into being, was not absent. He wasn't watching from a distance. He wasn't caught off guard. He saw Satan approach. He saw Eve lean in. He saw Adam hesitate. And still, he didn't stop it. Why? Because love doesn't control. Love doesn't override choice. Jesus knew if he reached in and knocked the fruit from their hands, he would preserve obedience but lose something far greater. Love that was freely given. What kind of love lets pain unfold because it believes something deeper can be born from it? And then, it happened. The bite, the crunch, the silence. Paradise cracked like glass under pressure. In a single moment, innocence was lost. Eyes opened, hearts darkened, shame awakened, humanity fell, and Jesus stepped in. Genesis 3:8 says, and they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Not thunder, not lightning. Footsteps. Soft, familiar, human-like. Many scholars believe this appearance was a Jesus, the Word, walking in the garden. He didn't come with a sword. He came with a question. Where are you? He didn't ask because he didn't know. He asked because they needed to hear themselves answer. He wanted Adam to hear his own fear, Eve to feel her own shame. He didn't thunder. What have you done? He gently asked. Who told you that you were naked? Right there in their brokenness, Jesus revealed his heart. He didn't crush them. He covered them. Yes, judgment came. The serpent was still in the garden. As leaves fell and hearts ached, Jesus didn't raise an army. He raised a prophecy. Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall bruise his heel. It was the first declaration of the gospel. The war wasn't over. It had just begun. But Jesus had already written the ending, and it wasn't revenge. It was redemption, Satan thought. The garden was a victory, but Jesus turned it into the stage for a promise. From the moment of the fall, Jesus didn't retreat. He moved toward the pain. He knew the cost. He saw the cross. He saw the whip, the crown of thorns, the betrayal, the silence of Gethsemane, the nails, the mocking crowd, and he still chose to step in, because Jesus didn't just come to stop Satan. He came to save the ones who listened. To him, there's a unique kind of pain that comes from betrayal, not from death, but from the slow turning away of someone you love. Jesus felt that with Lucifer. He felt it again with Adam and Eve, and yet he still walked toward them. Imagine forming a human from dust and watching them choose darkness. Imagine breathing life into lungs that would one day speak lies. Imagine crafting eyes that would look away from you and still calling them very good. That's the love Jesus carried, not just in heaven, but on earth. The Lamb slain before the foundation of the world chose the cross before there was sin. Before Adam reached for the fruit, Jesus had already chosen the tree. Before Satan spoke a word, Jesus had already authored a promise. He didn't panic. He didn't scramble. He didn't react. He responded with purpose, because his goal wasn't to merely stop sin. It was to redeem people out of it. The enemy wasn't done. Lucifer, now Satan, would roam the earth. He would lie, tempt, twist. He would whisper through kings and systems, fears and wounds. But Jesus wasn't retreating. He entered the very world that had chosen darkness. He put on flesh. He came not as a warrior, but as a child, and he didn't fight back with armies. He fought back with truth, mercy, sacrifice, and love. The greatest weapon heaven ever wielded wasn't fire, it was a cross. Now, the same Jesus who stood in eternity, who watched Lucifer fall, who walked through Eden, who carried the cross stands with you. He sees your pain, he hears your questions, he knows your failures, and he doesn't walk away. He walks toward you, because the story of the serpent isn't about destruction, it's about the Lamb who already won. If you've ever felt too far gone, if you've believed the lie that your fall disqualified you from grace, remember this. Jesus saw the fall and still chose the cross. He knew the cross stand still chose you. He wasn't absent. He was always there, in the silence, in the shadows, in the heartbreak, and he still is. If this story gave you a deeper glimpse into the heart of Jesus, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone in the war. Because this war was never just about rebellion, it's about redemption.